staff, human beings are always resistant to change. So definitely it's important to let them understand the why behind that change.
Hi, James. And first of all, thank you for joining me today to talk about how to make your tech implementation a success story. So maybe you can start off by explaining us why is a implementation strategy so important?
Well, there are actually many good software providers out there that can be of great use for your company to be efficient and flexible. But for any digitization process to be really successful, you will need a well-constructed plan. Technology doesn't really run by itself. It's how it is used that will determine the success, of course. This goes for the same between your staff and guests. Well, if your staff doesn't know how to use the technology, they are not going to adopt it. And the same, if the guest doesn't know how to use it, they wouldn't be able to, make use of the technology as well. So the success of digitization really lies in the engagement of your new tech stack edition. Well, adopting the new technology is needed in modern times like this, but the decision needs to be made consciously and not half-heartedly to, make sure that the adoption is successful, right? Yeah.
So what makes a good implementation plan?
Well, during the implementation, I think it is vital to communicate clearly about the timeline and actions that needs to be taken by whom. We cannot anticipate setbacks, but we should be transparent about it. It is really recommended to start off with a pilot in one establishment to smooth out any potential bumps in your plan, so you can share the results with the rest of the team to give them the confidence about the tool as well. Also, think about once when the tool is up and running, if it involves guest interaction, how will you actually get them engaged? Advertising any new digital services you are implementing widely will definitely be one of the options available. And think about getting the feedback through post-day surveys to improve any processes in place if ever needed. Well, and here we have worked with many clients implementing ReviewPro for their hotels over the years. One constant that sticks is actually by sticking to the timeline in the plan is important, but actually being able to react swiftly and to adapt to any situations will be the key to a successful implementation.
And lastly, maybe you can share some tips with us on how to make sure that your team is actually using your new tech edition.
Yeah, of course, staff, human beings are always resistant to change. So definitely it's important to let them understand the why behind that change. With that, they will need to know the importance of the tool for the company and how they can benefit from that change. It is then recommended, obviously, to have an internal expert to help the team members with the questions. So the threshold for looking for help will be lower and the tool becomes more accessible to the team. So obviously, you have to make sure your team is always continuously getting trained as well on the product. Well, a good tech provider will be offering training sessions, and you should then make sure your team actually attends those regularly to keep up to date of any changes and improvements to the tool. In the end, it is always important to keep your team engaged with the tool through automated alerts and reports, allowing them to showcase the data from the reports in presentations during the stand-up meetings, etc. Right? Try not to disrupt processes that much. So while you want to automate some of your procedures, you can recreate existing organizational structures within the technology, so the staff is still able to follow a similar process that is already in place. So I think it's really important for the hotel and the person driving the change to persevere, to drive the adoption of the new technology. We have a very good example in the case of client who managed to push through the adoption through innovative ways and a very good understanding of the organization challenges where the hotels are facing these challenges. She was able to communicate the monthly updates of the adoption rate and the key performance indicators across the organization in a shared report. It is just truly amazing the amount of success she has achieved while the others before her could not. Yeah, so I think it's really key. The person driving that change has to push on. Yeah.